Lesson 69. Thorough. Thoroughly. What does the word thorough mean?
The word thorough means complete.
In which season of the year do people generally give their houses a thorough cleaning?
People generally give their houses a thorough cleaning in spring.
If you jumped into the sea, would you get thoroughly wet?
Yes, if I jumped into the sea, I'd get thoroughly wet.
What kind of things make you thoroughly tired?
The kind of things that make me thoroughly tired are hard physical work, studying a lot without a break, not enough sleep, etc.
Accident. By accident. If you drove a car on the left-hand side of the road in America, France, etc., instead of on the right, what would happen?
If I drove a car on the left-hand side of the road in America, France, etc., instead of on the right, I'd have an accident.
Have you ever seen an accident on the road?
No, I've never seen an accident on the road.
If you took something by accident that didn't belong to you, what did you do?
If I took something by accident that didn't belong to me, I'd return it.
Careful. Careless. Carefully. Carelessly. Do people become careless when they're in great danger?
No, people don't become careless when they're in great danger. They become very careful.
Do you write carefully?
Yes, I write carefully.
What could happen if you were careless when crossing the road?
If I were careless when crossing the road, I could have an accident.
Of all the people you know, who dresses the most carelessly?
Of all the people I know, my father dresses the most carelessly.
Own. Do you own all the clothes you're wearing, or do any of them belong to somebody else?
I don't own all the clothes I'm wearing. Some of them belong to somebody else.
What would you like to own more than anything else?
I'd like to own a flat more than anything else.
Who owns the place where you live?
I don't know who owns the place where I live.
Carry on. Retire. Do people in your country usually carry on working after they reach the age of 65?
No, people in my country don't usually carry on working after they reach the age of 65. They retire.
Prize. Have you ever won a prize for anything?
No, I've never won a prize for anything.
2. Give me a sentence with the word to, meaning also.
He wants a biscuit and I want one too.
At least. Give me a sentence with the words at least in it.
I've asked him at least 6 times and each time he has forgotten. He didn't do very well in the exam, but at least he passed.
Widely. Which is one of the most widely used English adjectives?
One of the most widely used English adjectives is nice.
Is English the most widely spoken language in the world?
Yes, English is the most widely spoken language in the world.
Manner. Pig. Why are good manners so important in life?
Good manners are so important in life because they make life easier and more pleasant.
What do we mean when we say that somebody has the manners of a pig?
When we say that somebody has the manners of a pig, we mean that they have very bad manners.
Do people in very hot countries dress in the same manner as people in very cold countries?
No, people in very hot countries don't dress in the same manner as people in very cold countries. They dress in a different manner.
Asleep. Awake. Will you still be asleep at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning?
No, I won't still be asleep at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be awake.
Will you still be awake at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning?
No, I won't still be awake at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be asleep.
Hospital. Nurse. Who takes care of us when we're in hospital?
Nurses and doctors take care of us when we're in hospital.
Purpose. In order to. So that. Take exercise. Answer the following questions with in order to. Why do people eat?
People eat in order to live.
For what purpose do people work?
People work in order to earn money.
What must we do in order to keep in good health?
In order to keep in good health, we must sleep well, eat healthy food, take plenty of exercise, not smoke, etc.
What do you think is the purpose of living?
I think the purpose of living is to be happy and to make others happy, etc.
Give me an example of so that, please.
He put the food in the fridge so that it would stay fresh.
Notice. Are there any notices hanging up in the school?
Yes, there are some notices hanging up in the school.
Where?
On the walls.
What do they say?
They give people information.
Lane. What are the three forms of lie?
The three forms of lie are lie, lay, lane.
What's the longest you've ever lain in bed for when you've been ill?
The longest I've ever lain in bed for when I've been ill is about 5 days.
Point at. Point out. Indicate. What's the difference between to point at and to point out?
The difference between to point at and to point out is that we use to point at for the action of pointing the finger at an object, whereas to point out means to indicate something among different things.
What am I doing?
You're pointing at the light.
Point at the picture on the wall, please. What are you doing?
I'm pointing at the picture on the wall.
Point out the mistake in this sentence, please. I've gone to the cinema this week.
We can't say I've gone to the cinema this week. We must say I've been to the cinema this week.
What's she doing?
She's pointing out the mistake in that sentence.
Grave. In your country, do people visit their relatives' graves?
Yes, in my country, people visit their relatives' graves.
Neck. Is it bad for your neck to sleep without a pillow?
Yes, it's bad for your neck to sleep without a pillow.
Flame. Can we have a fire without flames?
Yes, we can have a fire without flames.
Flight. How long is the flight from here to Auckland?
The flight from here to Auckland is about 24 hours.
70. May. Might. Palace. Parliament. What do the words may and might express?
The words may and might express the idea of perhaps.
What's the difference between may and might?
The difference between may and might is that we cannot use may in the second conditional.
Give me an example.
If I went to London, I might visit Buckingham Palace.
Do you think it may rain later?
Yes, I think it may rain later.
What do you think I might have in my pocket?
I think you might have some money in your pocket.
What might happen if you didn't look both ways before crossing the road?
An accident might happen if I didn't look both ways before crossing the road.
What might you see if you went to London?
I might see Buckingham Palace, the Houses of Parliament, Trafalgar Square, Piccadilly Circus, etc. if I went to London.
Do you think there might be another world war?
No, I don't think there'll be another world war.
Arrive at. Point. Arrive in. Area. Airport. Passport. What's the difference between arrive at and arrive in?
The difference between arrive at and arrive in is that we arrive at a point, whereas we arrive in an area.
What time do you arrive at school?
I arrive at school at 11 o'clock.
If you arrived at a foreign airport without your passport, what might happen?
If I arrived at a foreign airport without my passport, I might not be able to enter the country.
Cafe. What is a cafe?
A cafe is a small informal restaurant where you can get light meals, snacks and drinks.
Owe. Do you owe me any money?
Yes, I owe you some money.
Do I owe you any money?
No, you don't owe me any money.
Verb plus back. Souvenir. What does it mean to give back?
To give back means to return.
When you go on holiday, what do you bring back with you?
When I go on holiday, I bring back souvenirs with me.
Are you going to go back home immediately after the lessons ended?
Yes, I'm going to go back home immediately after the lessons ended.
When people lend you money, do you always pay it back when promised?
Yes, when people lend me money, I always pay it back when promised.
Do you know anybody who has retired but then later gone back to work?
Yes, I know somebody who has retired but then later gone back to work.
Pride. Proud. Normal. Normally. Take pride in. What is your normal breakfast?
My normal breakfast is coffee and bread.
Do people normally feel proud when they do well in exams?
Yes, people normally feel proud when they do well in exams.
Do you take pride in your work?
Yes, I take pride in my work.
Servant. If you were very rich, would you have servants in your house?
No, if I were very rich, I wouldn't have servants in my house.
Wheel. Lorry. Does a lorry have fewer wheels than a car?
No, a lorry doesn't have fewer wheels than a car, it has more wheels.
Arrow. Centimetre. Metre. About how long is an arrow?
An arrow is about a metre long.
How many centimetres make a metre?
100 centimetres make a metre.
Beard. Do you know anybody who has a long beard?
Yes, I know somebody who has a long beard.
True. False. Paper. Newspaper. Is it false that the opposite of heaven is hell?
No, it isn't false that the opposite of heaven is hell, it's true.
Is everything we read in the newspapers true?
No, not everything we read in the newspapers is true. Some things are true and some things are false.
Why do you think this is so?
I think maybe it's because newspapers haven't always got time to make sure that what they write is completely true.
Maintain. Is it cheap to maintain a large house?
No, it isn't cheap to maintain a large house. It's expensive.
It takes. Ireland. How do we translate the words it takes?
We translate the words it takes with
How long does it take you to go home from here?
It takes me about an hour to go home from here.
Does it take longer to fly from here to Ireland than to go by train and ship?
No, it doesn't take longer to fly from here to Ireland than to go by train and ship. It takes less time.
About how long would it take us to reach the station from here if we walked very fast?
It'd take us about 5 minutes to reach the station from here if we walked very fast.
Amount. Amount to. What amount of money have you got in your pocket at the moment?
I've got about £5 in my pocket at the moment.
Do they use a large amount of wood in building houses in this region?
No, they don't use a large amount of wood in building houses in this region.
Why not?
Because it's expensive.
What do £50 and £13 amount to?
£50 and £13 amount to £63.
Further. Sweden. In addition. Extra. What does the word further mean?
The word further means the same as farther, but it also means in addition or extra.
Which is further from Spain, Sweden or Switzerland?
Sweden is further from Spain than Switzerland.
What's the furthest you've ever been?
The furthest I've ever been is from England to Japan.
Where do you have to go if you wanted further information about train times at a station?
I'd have to go to the information office if I wanted further information about train times at a station.
Give me a further example of the word further, please.
If I failed an exam, I'd have to take
Lesson
further
71.
lessons.
Past perfect. I had eaten. When do we use the present perfect?
We use the present perfect when we are thinking about time before and up to now.
Give me an example.
Mary cannot enter her flat because she has lost her key.
What does that sentence mean?
That sentence means that Mary does not know where her key is now because of losing it earlier today.
When do we use the past perfect?
We use the past perfect when we are thinking about time before and up to another point in the past.
Give me an example.
Mary could not enter her flat yesterday because she had lost her key.
What does that sentence mean?
That sentence means that Mary did not know where her key was yesterday because of losing it earlier in the day.
What's the difference between these two sentences? I ate my dinner at 9 o'clock, and I had eaten my dinner at 9 o'clock.
The difference between these two sentences is that I ate my dinner at 9 o'clock means I started to eat my dinner at 9 o'clock, whereas I had eaten my dinner at 9 o'clock means that my dinner was already finished at 9 o'clock.
Had you had anything to eat before you came to school today?
Yes, I had had something to eat before I came to school today.
Had you ever seen me before you came to this school?
No, I had never seen you before I came to this school.
When you began your lessons at this school, had you already studied some English, or were you a complete beginner?
When I began my lessons at this school, I had already studied some English.
Party. Political. What does the word party mean?
The word party means...
Do you ever throw a party at home on your birthday?
Yes, I sometimes throw a party at home on my birthday.
Which is the strongest political party in your country today?
The Conservative Party is the strongest political party in my country today.
Do you prefer to go on holiday with a friend or in a large party?
I prefer to go on holiday with a friend.
Mad. Crazy. UFO. What does the word mad mean?
The word mad means angry, very interested, and crazy.
Do some people get mad when they're driving in very heavy traffic?
Yes, some people get mad when they're driving in very heavy traffic.
What kind of things are you most mad about?
I'm most mad about music, films, sport, etc.
If a friend told you they had seen a UFO, would you believe them or think they were going mad?
If a friend told me they had seen a UFO, I wouldn't believe them. I'd think they were going mad.
Copy. What happens if one pupil copies from another during an exam?
If one pupil copies from another during an exam, he's sent out of the room.
When you answer a question during a Callan lesson, should you simply copy what the teacher says?
No, when I answer a question during a Callan lesson, I shouldn't simply copy what the teacher says. I should try to answer the question without waiting to hear the words from the teacher first.
If you were given 2 copies of the same book for your birthday, what would you do?
If I were given 2 copies of the same book for my birthday, I'd give one to a friend.
Influence. Does the weather have a strong influence over you? Do you, for example, feel happy in good weather and unhappy in bad weather?
Yes, the weather has a strong influence over me.
Mouse. Mice. What is the name of the famous mouse in the cinema world?
The name of the famous mouse in the cinema world is Mickey Mouse.
What do mice like eating?
Mice like eating cheese, etc.
Throat. What part of the body's this?
It's the throat.
Opportunity. Which would you prefer? A job that gave you the opportunity to visit other countries, or a job that gave you the opportunity to earn a lot?
I'd prefer a job that gave me the opportunity to earn a lot.
Develop. Industry. Agriculture. What do we mean by the underdeveloped countries of the world?
By the underdeveloped countries of the world, we mean those with little industry, agriculture, etc.
Print. Where was this book printed?
This book was printed in Malta.
Sand. Beach. Desert. Where do we find sand?
We find sand on a beach, in a desert, etc.
When you're on holiday, do you enjoy lying on a beach in the sun?
Yes, when I'm on holiday, I enjoy lying on a beach in the sun.
Why is it difficult to live in a desert?
It's difficult to live in a desert because there is so little water.
Bell. Knock. Pay a visit. Ring. What am I doing?
You're knocking on the table.
Is there a bell in this school?
Yes, there's a bell in this school.
What do you do when you arrive at somebody's front door in order to pay a visit?
When I arrive at somebody's front door in order to pay a visit, I knock on the door or ring the doorbell.
Shout. When do people shout?
People shout when they're angry or when they think somebody can't hear them.
If there were some people shouting loudly outside in the corridor, would you be able to hear me?
No, if there were some people shouting loudly outside in the corridor, I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Stick. Walking stick. Do some people use walking sticks to help them move around when they get older?
Yes, some people use walking sticks to help them move around when they get older.
Which animals like to fetch sticks that you throw for them?
Dogs like to fetch sticks that you throw for them.
Would prefer plus infinitive with to. Where would you prefer to live, by a lake or by the sea?
I'd prefer to live by the sea.
This evening, would you prefer to go out for dinner or simply go home?
This evening, I'd prefer to go out for dinner.
Exclamation
Lesson 72.
mark.
NESS. Reason. Illness. Tiredness. Darkness. How do we sometimes form a noun from an adjective?
We sometimes form a noun from an adjective by adding the letters NESS to the adjective.
Give me an example.
Late, lateness.
When did you have your last illness?
I had my last illness 2 weeks ago.
What's the reason for tiredness?
The reason for tiredness is too much work, not enough sleep, etc.
What's the reason for darkness at night?
The reason for darkness at night is that the world turns completely round every 24 hours.
Alone. What's another way of saying he lives on his own?
Another way of saying he lives on his own is he lives alone.
Do you live alone or with other people?
I live with other people.
Do you prefer to go on holiday alone?
No, I don't prefer to go on holiday alone. I prefer to go in company.
Already. Has the lesson already finished?
No, the lesson hasn't finished yet. It's still in progress.
Are you already able to speak English without making any mistakes?
No, I'm not able to speak English without making any mistakes yet. I still make some mistakes.
Are we already in spring?
No, we aren't in spring yet. We're still in winter.
Have we already studied stage 4 of the Callan method?
Yes, we've already studied stage 4 of the Callan method.
Thrown. What are the 3 forms of throw?
The 3 forms of throw are throw, threw, thrown.
Have you ever thrown anything away by mistake, which was worth a lot of money?
Yes, I've thrown something away by mistake, which was worth a lot of money.
What?
A ring.
In spite of. Despite. Why do some people do dangerous sports in spite of the danger?
Some people do dangerous sports in spite of the danger because they find them exciting.
Name some foods that are very popular despite being bad for the health.
Some foods that are very popular, despite being bad for the health, are chips, cakes, ice creams, etc.
Do you think it's worth learning a foreign language in spite of the fact that it's quite difficult?
Yes, I think it's worth learning a foreign language in spite of the fact that it's quite difficult.
In spite of studying a lot of words and grammar, do you still find English a little difficult?
Yes, in spite of studying a lot of words and grammar, I still find English a little difficult.
Anyone. Someone. No one. What words can we use instead of anybody, somebody, and nobody?
Instead of anybody, somebody, and nobody, we can use anyone, someone, and no one.
Did anyone come into the classroom at the beginning of the lesson?
Yes, someone came into the classroom at the beginning of the lesson.
Who went out of this room 2 minutes ago?
No one went out of this room 2 minutes ago.
Borrow. What's the opposite of the verb to lend?
The opposite of the verb to lend is to borrow.
Should we always give back the things we borrow?
Yes, we should always give back the things we borrow.
If you forgot to bring a pen with you to school, would you have to borrow one from another student?
Yes, if I forgot to bring a pen with me to school, I'd have to borrow one from another student.
My own. Emphasize. Give me an example of the word own after a possessive adjective.
This is my own book.
Do you live in your own house or flat, or does it belong to somebody else?
No, I don't live in my own house. It belongs to somebody else.
Do you think this is probably my own book, or do you think it belongs to the school?
I don't think that's your own book. I think it belongs to the school.
Skin. What's this?
It's your skin.
Wire. Electricity. Connection. Wireless. Wi-Fi. Hyphen. What do we use wire for?
We use wire to carry electricity, to connect things together, etc.
What do we mean by a wireless internet connection?
By a wireless internet connection, we mean that we can connect to the internet without connecting wires to our computer.
What can we say instead of a wireless internet connection?
Instead of a wireless internet connection, we can say Wi-Fi.
Do some bars and cafes offer free Wi-Fi to their customers?
Yes, some bars and cafes offer free Wi-Fi to their customers.
Spell the word Wi-Fi, please.
W-I-F-I.
Boil. Fry. Roast. Tell me 3 ways of cooking potatoes.
3 ways of cooking potatoes are boiling, frying, and roasting.
Do you prefer fried eggs or boiled eggs?
I prefer fried eggs.
How long does it take to boil potatoes?
It takes about 20 minutes to boil potatoes.
Brick. What's a wall normally built of?
A wall is normally built of bricks.
As well. 2. Also. Where do the words as well, to, and also usually go?
The words as well and to go at the end of the sentence, but the word also usually goes after the first auxiliary verb.
Give me an example of each, please.
I will be sleeping at 3 a.m. My sister will be sleeping as well. My mother will be sleeping too. My brother will also be sleeping.
Give me an example of also when there is no auxiliary verb, please.
I love coffee and I also
Lesson
love tea.
73. Future continuous. I will be speaking. When do we use the future continuous?
We use the future continuous for an action that will be in progress at a particular time in the future.
Give me an example, please.
I will be working at this time tomorrow.
What do you think you will be doing at this time tomorrow?
I think I'll be studying at this time tomorrow.
Will you still be studying English in 50 years' time?
No, I won't still be studying English in 50 years' time.
Where do you think you'll be living in 10 years' time?
I think I'll be living in London in 10 years' time.
Inch. Foot. Yard. What's this?
It's an inch.
What's this?
It's a foot.
What's this?
It's a yard.
How many centimetres make an inch?
About 2.5 centimetres make an inch.
How many inches make a foot?
12 inches make a foot.
How many feet make a yard?
3 feet make a yard.
Is a yard longer than a metre?
No, a yard isn't longer than a metre, it's shorter than a metre.
Consequently, when we run 100 yards, do we run further than 100 metres?
No, when we run 100 yards, we don't run further than 100 metres, we run less than 100 metres.
Chain. Are you wearing a chain?
No, I'm not wearing a chain.
What do we mean when we say someone is a chain smoker?
When we say someone is a chain smoker, we mean that he or she smokes one cigarette after another without stopping, like a chain.
Rise. Constantly. What's my book doing?
Your book's rising in the air.
Does the sun rise early in winter?
No, the sun doesn't rise early in winter, it rises late.
Is the cost of living constantly rising these days?
Yes, the cost of living is constantly rising these days.
What would you do if this table slowly began to rise into the air without anybody touching it?
If this table slowly began to rise into the air without anybody touching it, I'd run out of the room, etc.
Belt. Are you wearing a belt?
No, I'm not wearing a belt.
Hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. What do the words hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly mean?
The words hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly mean every hour, every day, every week, every month, and every year.
Do most radio stations have hourly traffic news?
Yes, most radio stations have hourly traffic news.
Which daily newspaper do you read?
I read the Evening Standard.
Do you read any weekly newspapers?
No, I don't read any weekly newspapers.
How many hours of English do you study monthly?
I study 40 hours of English monthly.
Where do you usually go for your yearly holidays?
I usually go to Spain for my yearly holidays.
Allow, let, every day. What's the difference between allow and let?
The difference between allow and let is that allow has the infinitive with to after it, whereas let has the infinitive without to after it.
Give me an example, please.
The doctor allowed me to change my appointment. The doctor let me change my appointment.
What sometimes happens when we let people borrow things that belong to us?
When we let people borrow things that belong to us, they sometimes don't return them.
Do you think it's a good idea to allow children to do as they please?
No, I don't think it's a good idea to allow children to do as they please.
Do you think it's dangerous these days to let people we don't know enter our houses?
No, I don't think it's dangerous these days to let people we don't know enter our houses.
Do you think more people would kill each other if the law of the country let them?
Yes, I think more people would kill each other if the law of the country let them.
Which is it right to say? I was let or I was allowed?
It's right to say I was allowed.
Why?
Because we cannot use let in the passive voice.
Do you think students should be allowed to use their mobile phones during lessons?
No, I don't think students should be allowed to use their mobile phones during
Lesson
lessons.
74. Anywhere. Somewhere. Not anywhere. Where? On the wall. Nowhere. Is there a book anywhere in this room?
Yes, there's a book somewhere in this room.
Is there a radio anywhere in this room?
No, there isn't a radio anywhere in this room.
If there's nowhere to sit on a bus, what do you have to do?
If there's nowhere to sit on a bus, I have to stand.
Is there anywhere near here I can buy foreign books?
Yes, there's somewhere near here you can buy foreign books.
Is there anywhere in this town I could get my hair cut for nothing?
No, there isn't anywhere in this town you could get your hair cut for nothing.
Where in the world can a man murder another man without breaking the law?
There's nowhere in the world where a man can murder another man without breaking the law.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
If I could live anywhere in the world, I'd live in Wales.
Why?
Because it's beautiful and the people are lovely.
Loose. Loosen. Do you think it's okay to let dogs run around loose, or do you think they should be kept on a chain?
I think dogs should be kept on a chain.
Why do people in hot countries wear loose clothes?
People in hot countries wear loose clothes to keep themselves cool.
Are there any loose stones on the road outside this school?
Yes, there are some loose stones on the road outside this school.
Why does a man sometimes loosen his tie?
A man sometimes loosens his tie because it's more comfortable.
Storm. Lightning. Thunder. What's a storm?
A storm is a short period of very bad weather.
What do we sometimes see and hear in a storm?
We sometimes see lightning and hear thunder in a storm.
Blind. How do blind people read?
Blind people read with special books made for them, which they can read by touching the words.
Devil. Where does the devil live?
The devil lives in hell.
Ride. Cycle. Can you ride a horse?
Yes, I can ride a horse.
Do you like riding on buses?
Yes, I like riding on buses.
What's another way of saying, I ride a bike every day?
Another way of saying I ride a bike every day is I cycle every day.
May. Can. Could. Permission. What words do we use when we ask for permission to do something?
We use may, can, or could when we ask for permission to do something.
Give me 3 examples, please.
May I smoke? Can I open the window? Could I borrow your pen, please?
Catch. Raincoat. In what kind of expressions do we use the word catch?
We use the word catch in expressions such as catch a ball, catch a train, catch a cold, etc.
What am I doing?
You're throwing your pen into the air and catching it.
Are you the kind of person who usually has to run hard at the last moment in order to catch a bus or a train?
No, I'm not the kind of person who usually has to run hard at the last moment in order to catch a bus or a train.
If you walked in the rain without carrying an umbrella or wearing a raincoat, what might happen?
If I walked in the rain without carrying an umbrella or wearing a raincoat, I'd get wet and might catch a cold.
Cap. Why is it a good idea to wear a cap in hot, sunny weather?
It's a good idea to wear a cap in hot, sunny weather because it protects your head and eyes from the sun.
Habit. Be in the habit of doing. What's the most common way to speak about our habits?
The most common way to speak about our habits is to use the present simple or past simple.
Give me an example, please.
I play football every weekend. I always studied hard before exams at university.
Does your father smoke?
Yes, my father smokes.
Did you usually go to bed early when you were a small child?
Yes, I usually went to bed early when I was a small child.
What's your worst habit?
My worst habit is that I smoke.
Are you in the habit of speaking to yourself when you're alone?
Yes, I'm in the habit of speaking to myself when I'm alone.
What were you in the habit of doing at the weekend when you were a little child?
I was in the habit of visiting my grandmother at the weekend when I was a little child.
Stranger. Foreigner. What's the difference between a stranger and a foreigner?
The difference between a stranger and a foreigner is that a stranger is somebody we don't know, whereas a foreigner is somebody from another country.
Snowstorm.